Welcome to the Ann Arbor Human Rights Commission.
I think he hasn't started it yet. Okay. Should be good.
Let's start with roll call. Kennedy?
Oh, you're going to have to start again. He didn't start it.
Oh. Welcome again to the Ann Arbor Human Rights Commission, June 10th meeting. Let us start with a roll call.
Chair Stambaugh,
Here?
Vice Chair Garber,
Here.
Commissioner Lane,
Here.
Commissioner Meadows,
Here.
Commissioner Bryan,
Here.
Commissioner Noel is absent, Commissioner Hernandez-Jackson is absent, Commissioner Keita Owen is absent, Commissioner Winkler is absent, and City Council Chris Watson is absent, and Council Member Casa Etchen is absent.
Thank you. Agenda. Somebody make a motion.
I move we approve the agenda.
Second. Discussion. I would like to add two things to the agenda. HRC partnering with NAACP, and I want to put it right after the City Council under old business, City Council
Okay.
overview.
All right.
And after that, a status report on conversion therapy.
Is Linda here?
No, Linda's,
So who's giving the update on conversion therapy?
I am.
Oh,
And Keita's not here, yes. But, okay, yeah. Okay.
all in favor?
Huh?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Public comment. I see no one for public comment.
Meeting minutes?
Meeting minutes.
Those are all attached in you guys'.
Yep. I move we accept the minutes from the last meeting.
Second, anyone?
I had one. It's not really. It just seemed to be an extra character when I was reading it over. I should have highlighted it on my copy. Under follow-up on ongoing HRC work, under Community Reentry Coalition discussion, 2, 3, 4, 5th line down, and it says she presented on a panel about T, the fair chance access.
Oh, the, it's supposed to be the.
Well, it has B. It has an extra T.
Oh, okay, you're saying delete the T. Gotcha. Any other changes? Is there a second?
Uh,
I think it
Yes, there was a second.
Who seconded? Who seconded?
I can second.
Okay, we have one change, no more changes? All in favor?
Adopting it as with the change?
With the change, yes.
Aye.
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 Going to be done. Okay.
We don't have anyone here from City Council.
No. Introduction to our newest member. We're very excited to have you. And would you like to say something?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me. I've met most of you in the vetting process, if you will, and thank you for considering me and having on board. My name is Bill Bryan. I live on the east side of Ann Arbor in the Pittsfield Village neighborhood. I have 2 kids. I work at the University of Michigan as a program manager at the International Institute. I'm a reservist in the Coast Guard as well, and I'm pleased to be here. I can't think of a better way to support this community and give back to this community. I believe now more than ever, we need to support human rights, and this is really a nonpartisan issue. This is ensuring that people who live, work, and play in our city are given a fair shake, and that's something that I'm really passionate about. So thanks again, and I look forward to working with you.
I think I can say with confidence that we are too looking forward to working with you as
We'll
well.
see.
We'll let you know. Okay. City Council. We will not talk about City Council today, I think, because we have neither Chris or Aisha here. Fair housing training.
That handout is included in your packets last week.
Actually, I attended a day-long seminar from Fair Housing of Southeast and Mid-Michigan this 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I have 3 things I want to say, three pieces of information. One is that this training by Fair Housing was absolutely wonderful. It was really, really good. It had 3 parts. Aha, Chris. Good. Maybe I will stop and we will talk about City Council before I go on. Does that sound reasonable? I think it's a better flow. Are you ready to talk, Chris?
We had a pretty light agenda for the summer, for the past meeting, first meeting in June. One interesting thing, I think, for the committee, you may recall during the bicentennial, the city switched the location of what was planned to be Bicentennial Park from Fuller Park to Southeast Area Park, what was formerly called Southeast Area Park. That's now Bicentennial Park. They opened a splash pad, and that's an area of the city that has, I think, the most Title I schools. It's an area that definitely needed the reinvigoration of the park. And so tomorrow, I think at like 11:30 or something, they're going to have a ceremonial button push to open this park that was also part of a state appropriation. I think we got like about $1 million from the state to do it. So it is a kind of an example of equity in action. I know Councilmember Gazu Edwin represents that area, so she is a big part of that as well. So
great.
That's probably. That was an easy one to give today.
Okay. But that's the only thing going on. Or
it is the
guys.
summer. Pretty pro forma stuff going on right now. So.
Okay.
Is that also known, is that the one that's on Ellsworth?
Yes.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so that's also known as Nike Park in the neighborhood.
I see.
Yeah, I walk that path sometimes, but I'm told, I don't know if it's true, that so they redid a whole lot, like they redid the basketball court area. And the reason why it's referred to as Nike is reportedly old Nike gym shoes are recycled, and that factored into the material that resulted in the refurbishing of the basketball court.
Oh.
Yeah, so ask the neighbors in the area, trust me, they're the ones who told me it's called Nike Park. Right?
A little oral history there.
And if the city ever wants to go around
Tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow.
11:30, I believe.
Living nearby, I can't wait.
Nice.
Kids, and that park needed a lot of help.
It did, but they have
I walked through
done
there when it was under construction.
phenomenal
half a year
work
ago.
with that.
We've been stopping in,
Yeah, it's
waiting to see
it's
almost every day.
I drive
that
by,
it'll-
but
yeah.
it's amazing. So pre-pandemic, it had none of what they have now, right? They've resurfaced like all of the area, and it's right on the corner of, not quite, but almost right on the corner of Platt and Ellsworth, because there's that little, strip mall.
Also, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually on the corner. But if you're ambitious, as I've been sometimes, I've walked up to there and then came back into the park and then went around.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the difference is like night and day
Right.
from what it used to be and what it is
Absolutely.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to collect some Nikes, there's a lot hanging from the wires. Just send a cherry picker around and you could pave several paths. Anyway, okay.
Okay. Back then to Fair Housing seminar. I think it was very, very interesting. It provides a lot of context for the work we do, even though we're not going to be doing any of the legal work around housing or any of the realtor work around housing. But we do the fair housing part about housing. Fair Housing did a great job. If the training comes up again, I highly recommend that you do it. And hopefully, I did not ask for support on this, but I think that we could easily get it. We can certainly justify it.
Is it an in-person or a virtual training?
No, it's in person.
Was it not also virtual?
It was in Jackson.
Okay.
I thought in the advertisement that they were offering like a link where you could, I don't know.
Don't think, there was no sign of being.
Yeah.
There were
Okay.
about 40 people from really, even though there are a number of fair housing, there are probably 4 in the state, maybe 5. But there were people from all over the state attending this, probably 40 people, I'm guessing. One of the things you learn is how good we've got it, frankly, especially because of our ordinances. And so I want to talk a little bit more about the ordinances that are most appropriate. The source of income clauses of the non-discrimination ordinance are very good, very helpful, and what they mean is if you have a voucher, they have to take it, basically. Money is money, whether it's a voucher or dollar bills. There is a source of income clause that was just put in the state Elliott Larson Civil Rights Act. And it is much better than not having it, but it's not as good as what we have for 2 reasons. One is that the state law only requires landlords who have 5 or more houses. So that for some reason they're making it easy for people who have a lot less work not to take the vouchers. Ours is required by anybody who has a house or an apartment to rent. The second thing is that it has nothing to help people who have very low incomes or no incomes to help them, because a lot of landlords are across the state, as far as I can tell, are saying they want you to have 3 times the amount of what you're paying for rent, basically. And what our ordinance does is it says that the amount of the voucher can be tripled and added to whatever income you've got for the land. So most landlords, so a lot of people who wouldn't have qualified before in the state using the state law will qualify now because of what we've got. The state's was based on ours, and they did try to put in the same kind of a adjustment for income, but it didn't pass. So they're still trying. It might get better. But I wanted to also talk about how we came up with this source of income, because one of the things I are becoming more and more aware of, especially having talked to Bill yesterday. Yeah. Is that about half of the people in our commission have not been around for an awful lot of the kind of work we do. Work especially that has to do with finding areas of discrimination where there is no legal help for people, and then coming up with a solution for them. And so we have been responsible over the years for, I think, 3 separate ordinances, and a lot of amendments to the non-discrimination ordinance. Mm-hmm. Because we found holes and we needed to plug them up. Source of income was in the original non-discrimination ordinance when we found it. And I think, and we did a big revision of it in 2010-ish. And all the protected classes were defined, or they were clear-cut. Source of income, no one knew what it was about. I thought it was about food stamps, because that was a problem way back, that people wouldn't take food stamps. I don't know what it was really about, but it had no information whatsoever about it. I was talking to Pam Kish of Fair Housing one day, and we were talking about what kinds of housing issues we each take. Fair Housing is a really good partner for us. They specialize in housing and fair housing, and they have tools we don't have, especially tools that allow testing, so that discrimination is always difficult to determine, but if you can test, if you have that kind of ability, you have a better chance of making a case. We're not permitted by our attorneys to do that, but there are a lot of times when we have to refer people to fair housing, and that's good. Any rate, Fair Housing has used our ordinance, and has had some success. And the state's ordinance that was passed in 2025 was just tested once. And in both cases, we got provisional, what do they call it? You looked it up and you told me about it.
A provisional, I'm not sure.
Injunction.
Oh, a preliminary injunction.
Preliminary injunction,
Mhm.
Thank you. And according to Judah, our attorney, he said that is a good sign that these will be held, that they can be held.
Right, you can't, the standard for getting a preliminary injunction is that you're likely to prevail on the merits. So it's a good sign.
So both the states, the state hasn't been used that often either, both the state and the city's laws have been tested at least once.
I just want to clarify something you said
Sure.
earlier. So landlords sometimes have a rule that your income needs to be 3 times what your rent is in order for them to want to rent to you.
No.
Is that what they're?
No, I think it's sort of some kind of a meme that you should only be spending 1/3 of your rent.
Sure. I mean, that's
what,
a rule of thumb.
but what landlords are saying is they want to know what your income is, and if your income is what they consider too small, which I think is they're judging 3 times, they want to say, no, we won't take your voucher because you can't afford the utilities, etc.
Okay. All right. So that's different than I understood. So they're required to take the voucher. That's income, right?
Right.
They can have whatever rule of thumb they want, but if you can afford to pay the rent, they can't deny you the spot just because you get a voucher.
That's
Because of, right.
Because of that. Now, and whose rule is it that says you can multiply the voucher times?
that is
Something
in
else.
our ordinance.
That's what our ordinance says?
Our ordinance, if you look up source
Our
of
ordinance
income.
so ordinance says if you are calculating someone's overall income, you can multiply the voucher by 3.
That's
so if you
right.
get a $1,000 voucher, it's as if your income is at least $3,000.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
All right.
And that was put in by none other than Jennifer Hall, who, when we found out that source of income was something we could use, what happened was when I was talking to Pam Kish, she said our biggest problem is people won't accept vouchers. We can get them, but people aren't accepting them. Wish we had something about source of income. And of course, I remember this hanging protected class, and I said, we've got one. And she says, yes, I know you've got it, but it doesn't say anything. It's not. We can't risk making a case on just a mention of it. It needed to be more substantial. And so we went to Jennifer Hall, who is our expert on housing. Everybody's expert on housing, I think. She is the executive director of the Housing Commission. And she basically wrote the definition of source of income. and we added it to the ordinance.
Yeah, it is on the fact sheet there too. They say, what if the property manager says my voucher doesn't count toward the requirement to make 3 times monthly rent? Money derived does count.
Right.
So yeah, so it looks like
Well,
that's what they
and
want
what
to
you're
keep.
looking at is the state
Yeah.
law. But the state law doesn't say exactly. If you look at the city law, it says 3 times.
And I think it counts. And I think the city one also sort of applies to the safety deposit too. I think, like in the sense that they can count, like, yeah, they can like count that as they would a safety deposit, which can be, or like some people want a deposit. It's 2 months, 3 months, or whatever. So that counts too. But anyway, yeah. Good to be more protective.
It is good, yes. So, depending on what your needs are, you can go state and city. Usually you want to go to the highest level. You'd want state over city, but sometimes the city is will cover more of your needs. As people on the Human Rights Commission, one of our mandates is that we look for, identify discrimination, and then find ways to help mitigate it. And this is one of the ways we do that, is really listening, seeing a problem, and then trying to trying to fix it. And this is what we did in this case. So it's been very interesting. This is something we should be also looking for now. Things are changing a great deal. We haven't done anything new like this in a couple of years. It may be time. But, it means that we're listening especially to complainants, but also to other people, like people we will meet on Saturday. Okay, I think that's all I need to say about housing, source of income. Fair house, we were talking also about conversion therapy. And I wanted to say something about that as well. And I'm sorry that Keita isn't here. Keita, if you remember what happened was our ordinance that prohibits conversion therapy is now suspect because of a Colorado ordinance that went before the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court took the part of it, of the Colorado ordinance that said, or law, that said that the professionals cannot talk to you about conversion therapy. In other words, if you think you're gay, a therapist, or you think you shouldn't have, that you are really a woman and you can't be changed to a man and advise you differently. That part of it is against the First Amendment. That the therapist should have the right to say what they want. And hopefully there are some rules in the therapist and whoever licensed the therapist to balance that in intelligent ways. But that's what the Supreme Court ruled on that. It makes other conversion therapy ordinances look suspicious. We looked at ours, and Keita said she was going to rewrite ours, and she's off doing that. whatever she's doing, she hasn't told me yet. But we've looked at our ordinance, and our ordinance is really very good, and it basically says that if anything, let's see, I have the ordinance. It has a clause that says If any part of this chapter is invalidated by law or a court of competent jurisdiction, the invalidated part shall be severed from this chapter, and the remainder of this chapter shall remain in effect and be interpreted as closely as possible to the purpose and intent of this chapter without violating state or federal law. In other words, we can keep our ordinance, because the thing that we're most worried about is not the interaction between a therapist and a person, but the other stuff that is also considered conversion therapy, that is more aversion treatment, which can be brutal and horrible. So that is still protected, and that's very important, because the state, after, again, this conversion therapy ordinance was done probably in I think 2021. The state did theirs, finished theirs, I think, in 2025. So we can't use the states if this isn't working. But this is going to work. And not only is the state blocking it, by the way, but House Republicans have introduced a bill to repeal the ordinance altogether. So ours is going to be very important. In other words, there are things we can do that are important, and we should keep doing them.
If I could just interject.
Yes.
So a couple of things came up when we were initially thinking of adding this conversion therapy to our ordinance. And we had students come from the University of Michigan, I believe, and there was a professor or some other gentleman.
Oh, we have a lot of people who are interested.
Yeah, and so the question came up, if the licensed clinician is also an ordained minister. And I raised that because my former pastor is both, right? And so it'll come down to, it's kind of like any complaint that we have that has the potential to end up in court, and so, which any of them can, and that's where law, either existing or new law, comes into play. If I recall correctly, the decision that was made in Colorado was kind of overturned because it was violative of the First Amendment, which is freedom of speech. So only that piece of it. It's a narrow reading of it, but I think relative to our ordinance, we at least have written into the ordinance the language that allows us to separate that piece that is now considered violative and still maintain the integrity of the ordinance itself and move forward. Where we may have some, I don't know what to call it, but it's going to come down to the actual complaint itself and see if, in fact, if there is, as my former pastor, a licensed clinician who is also a minister, because they may wear dual hats.
Right.
And so the onus will be on the complaining party to prove that there is a violation of our ordinance if the person has said, I counseled you as your minister as opposed to a licensed clinician.
Right.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to,
Well,
to see that.
our definition says conversion therapy means a counseling practice or treatment. So the counseling and maybe the practice are more First Amendment stuff. Treatment can be everything, including all the other aversion.
Yeah, and if I could just have us back up just slightly. When you were referencing fair housing, I just want to put this on record. I know I'd spoken briefly to Kennedy at the ICPOC meeting, but I want it so that going forward, if they have these workshops, that we would like to request of the city that those of us who attend have that fee paid on behalf of the Human Rights Commission. It was only $60, and I did find it, and there was no link.
Right.
And then I checked just while we were talking with a person who lives near the park. I'm multitasking here. And she says, yes, it is referred to as Nike Park. Rumor has it that the basketball courts had Nike sneakers in them, and that's how it got its name.
Okay.
So, just like to be accurate.
Yes, that's good. You never know what you can learn in these meetings.
I don't know where I get all of this trivia, but I do, so.
Why not? Okay.
So I'm not clear on what is then standing in this ordinance and what is now struck down. You know, to your point, you said treatment, but counseling could be considered treatment too, right? Like therapy
Well,
or counseling.
the
So
therapy is
we're-
what they objected to.
So my understanding would be talk therapy we can no longer prohibit talk therapy.
So if they're going to
That's what the Supreme Court said, that the therapist has the right to do talk therapy. It's a little puzzling because, licensed clinician, they can say anything they want. Can a doctor say anything they want? Can a lawyer say anything they want, even if it's contrary to the law or medicine or whatever? But that's what they said. But other forms of treatment that aren't just talk would not be struck down by that Supreme Court decision. So if there were electroshock therapy or medication or things that aren't strictly just talk. I think of it as clockwork orange therapy,
Right.
Something like some aversion therapy. Those would be still prohibited under our ordinance, and we don't, because of the severability clause, we don't need to touch our ordinance, and those would stand.
Great.
Is that
Yeah,
what
I
you're
I
saying?
think that's it.
Perfect.
I think that's it. Yes. We'll find out what Keita wanted to do with it, but
Or we get a complaint.
we'll get a complaint. That's right, and maybe we'll make it better.
Or it gets challenged as the state.
Or it gets
federal
challenged,
has been
yeah.
challenged. I
Yeah.
would be
Yep.
surprised.
If we do nothing, it probably is the safest way to do it, to
Yeah.
deal with it.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Judah, do you want to deal with?
Yeah, we had one human rights complaint came in since our last meeting. It concerned someone who was unable to get to their point because of traffic construction. I'm going to refer that person to the Transportation Commission. If we had to respond to every traffic delay and inconvenience as a human rights violation, we'd have to add 20 members full-time. So,
But they were saying that this was a human rights.
well, the person who's complaining was trying to get to the VA hospital, so they're a veteran, but I imagine, well, I haven't investigated it, but I don't imagine that the construction was done to inconvenience veterans. It was most likely done to improve the roads leading to and from the hospital, and in the long run will be good for the
One would hope,
consumers
yes.
at the hospital, as well as the people who work there and everything else. So on its face, doesn't strike me as a human rights violation, but we're going to refer the complainant to the Transportation Commission to maybe get a schedule of construction throughout the city,
Right.
and so they can plan their transportation accordingly.
Right.
Don't they publish that, Chris?
They do, yeah, and they've gotten a lot better at it. Yeah, so there's a big campaign now. You might see signs that say Ann Arbor is worth the work. They're basically at every they're at every construction site now. There's a QR code. You can subscribe to get updates. A2gov.org. Let me just make sure this works. /roads, I believe, gives you the up to the minute thing as well.
Well, I looked there for constructions around the VA and I couldn't find any, so maybe it's all
There
done.
was like an emergency thing at Fuller. Like that was. I think I was stuck in that going to the meeting actually. Like, and it was pretty intense. But I think there was something very, very emergent that happened there. Like I don't know if it was a water main or something. I won't speculate too much, but I think
I see.
it was something that was like a matter of a couple days, and it was. Yeah. Let's see. Well, and there is an upcoming. May 4th. There was a DTE pipeline that they had to fix, and then Thursday, June 4th, again, this is Fuller between Cedar and Maiden Drive. But that confirms, yes, a2gov.org/roads. And if you use Waze gets direct upload from the city as to road closures, and it works really well, especially with festivals and different things. So,
Oh, thank you for
yeah,
that.
if you use the Waze app, the transportation staff, engineering staff, they upload it right there. So
When was that water main break?
there was one, or not a water main break, but I think a DTE pipeline.
Oh.
This says May 4th, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. I don't know.
Okay.
Well, and that might track because, yeah, May 4th was a council meeting, so that was, I think, when I was maybe stuck. But there could have been another issue, could have been another thing. But
Yeah.
I wonder as well if this is an access issue and traffic seems to be is what it's attributed to. If maybe there's other factors that are inhibiting access and it's out of our scope and out of our charge, but the state VA runs a veteran navigator program that helps individuals. It doesn't matter what type of veteran or what type of service access care. So maybe this individual would benefit from a warm handoff to the state veteran navigator. I've worked with them. Maybe there's a clinic or someplace closer to their house that's less demanding or frustrating if transportation is an issue. It would be just a warm handoff, not part of our charge. But
Exactly, yeah. And I was planning to do the same with the other commission, which they may be able to help them out. That would be another good resource thing. Thank you.
And I was going to ask, so the complainant didn't allege a jurisdictional basis for us? They
Well,
just-
veteran. They're a veteran, and veterans are protected from discrimination.
I didn't hear that, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I think we're all equally troubled by the road construction.
Yeah, I think all citizens, but you don't get better roads if you don't fix them, and
Right,
you have
the ultimate
a limited construction
long-term
season.
gain, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me go back for one thing, because I forgot to tell you that the third thing I wanted you to, and the reason I sent this out to everybody, is this is the state law, and this is the way for source of income. What I liked about it was the way it was presented, because it was very user-friendly. Ours is not user-friendly. We could do more of this, and it would make it easier. So I sent everybody a copy of it. I hope you look at it and just start thinking about how we can present some of the laws that we see, the ordinances that people have trouble with, and see if we can print them out so in some ways that it's just more making it easier to understand what it means to the person, not what it means to the ordinance, user friendly.
I'm sorry. Bill, at the end of the meeting, can you if you have a link to that,
I do.
That would be great.
Sure.
Final thing we have to talk about is Juneteenth.
I thought you were going to, you said added HRC partnership with NAACP.
Oh, right.
Oh,
You
yes,
can-
thank you. I've got this. I mixed it up. Okay. Judah and Pam.
Okay. Pam and I both been meeting. We both are on the legal resource
Redress.
Thank you. Legal redress committee of the NAACP. They're sort of re-energizing that committee, and they're seeking other partners. And we have a good overlap in the kind of concerns that we address, sort of human rights issues. So we've already met with the legal redress committee. Pam and I joined the subcommittee, and then there's the committee as a whole, and then there's a committee of the committees. So a bunch of meetings, and you were at one of the ones that I was unable to make. But it's early days. We're just trying to get to know each other and figure out what they do and what we do. And
This is a complaint handling committee for people.
yeah,
in
they get
NAACP.
complaints, and then they field all kinds of complaints, and then triage them, figure out which ones they can handle, or refer people to legal counsel or some other entity, or their own legal resources. We aren't going to represent them personally, but the committee kind of sorts them out and gives them a referral, tries to find resources, or like we do, try to informally resolve complaints that can be informally resolved. Am I missing anything there?
No, we had our first meetings, so we meet the the entire board or organization meets the first Monday of each month. The Legal Redress Committee meets the second Monday of each month. And because Judah and I are fairly new, we're going to be meeting with Delphia Simpson, whom you may know, who was it, if you will, as far as the Legal Redress Committee. And so she's recruiting individuals to assist her in that endeavor. And so Judah and I both agreed to do that. And as Judah indicated, we also will welcome others to participate in that. The NAACP is a long-standing organization that we're happy to now partner with. We do some of the same things, but we do some different things. So I learned, like in the last couple of weeks, that her brother is Judge Simpson. I didn't know that. So,
I didn't know that.
yeah, and so they're both in the legal profession, which is Delphia's with the
Public defender.
Public Defender's Office, yeah. And so we have a meeting scheduled next week to meet exclusively with her, and we don't really have, and she said this when we met the first time, that they don't have in place what we currently have in place, which is tracking the complaints, logging them. And so we probably will be very instrumental in that. Delphia mentioned that her expertise is not HR, and Judah volunteered me. And so, or should I say voluntold. But I'm happy to help. And so we're both excited about that. And then, as you mentioned, under our new business, annually we participate in the celebration of when the slaves were officially notified of their freedom, which is referred to as Juneteenth. And so they will also, so the NAACP actually organizes the one for Ann Arbor annually, and they have a number of things that they will be doing, and we're happy to participate in that, but as HRC along with ICPOC and the Disabilities Commission.
Right.
So wonderful meetings thus far, and we look forward to an excellent partnership with them. What may not be known to the Human Rights Commission is we had previously the former president of the NAACP, Willie Hampton, come and speak to us on a couple of occasions.
Right.
So that hat has now been passed to the new president, who shares the exact last name
That's right.
as our council representative.
As someone
Chris.
once asked me, yeah, no relation.
Well, this
Yeah.
came out of our visit with Andre Watson, who was surprised about the kinds of complaint handling that we had, and I was thrilled that you two are doing that, because it's a nice partnership. It allows us to find out what's really going on. Remember, we're supposed to be identifying discrimination, and that will help, and it will help them. So I think it's exciting, and I'm very excited about it.
We are too. We brought up a couple of things that we, as the Human Rights Commission, has done, and that is they have a recruiting entity as well. And I recommended that they avail themselves of the services of CTN as we have done. So our business card, if you will, is out there on CTN. The persons that I contacted are available to anyone. The good thing about it is anyone can literally advertise on that free of charge. Literally, any either individual or organization, any upcoming event. You simply contact the persons at CTN. They put together the things that it needs to look like. The last count is that there's 75 things out there on cable access channel 16, where people are just advertising either resources or events or upcoming whatever, workshops, seminars, but things that would benefit the community. And then the one thing that Leslie, Judah, and I did that's kind of a partnership with HRC and the NAACP is that we meet, is it bi-monthly with Chief Anderson? And so we shared that information with him, and he was pleased to learn that we have established that network and partnership because we learn things when we have that meeting with him that are happening in the community that ideally both of our respective commissions can assist the police department, ultimately the community with.
Perfect. Good. Thank you, guys. Juneteenth. I've asked everybody who in this in the Human Rights Commission if they will take a time slot. Mm-hmm. People have sort of refused to. Everybody said, I'll take whatever's left. So what thought I'd do is I would pass these out and have people, and I'm going to take the first two. Let me tell you what the process is. The process will be that at about 11 o'clock, I'm going to pick up Zach Damon, who is the disabilities chair, and I will fill my trunk with stuff that Mohammed gives me from ICPOC, like the fruity cookies or whatever they are. I'm not sure what they are, and their stuff, I think, and I will come here at 11:30, help set up, and I'll stay for 2 hours.
I've got 5 to 6.
Bill Bryan has 5 to 6. Ideally, now we're going to be sitting there with somebody from ICPOC and somebody from Disabilities Commission. Mm-hmm. And it'd be nice if we had 2 people, but we don't need 2 people. We at least need to cover every slot. Mm-hmm. So far, we've covered at least by 1 person, 12 to 1, 1 to 2, and 5 to 6.
And I signed up for 4 to 5.
4 to 5.
And also 5 to 6.
So, and 5 to 6?
I did for both, yeah.
Okay, great.
It's towards the end.
I can come at the beginning, so I could come at 12 and stay until 1 or 2.
Okay, great.
Obviously, we still need those middle spots.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Judah?
Okay, well, it looks like what's open is from 2 to 4, right?
I think so. And
I think Keita said she's committed elsewhere, right?
Yeah,
Keita's
she's out of state.
Yeah, a lot of people are out of state. Linda's out of state. But Linda said she would do it if she's coming home that day or something. I mean, it's going to be hard. Mm-hmm. But Vanessa said she would take it whatever time is available.
Okay.
So we'll give Vanessa time.
All right, I'll take 3 o'clock.
Okay.
And I might also be early to help set up.
Oh, great.
So,
I mean, I can come early to help set up too, if you don't want to come twice. Up to you.
Just keep in mind we share with ICPOC and disabilities, and so they usually have the table and the chairs.
They're the table and chairs, but there are things that we can do.
Yeah, we put out our literature.
We put our signs and our materials
and we can walk around and see the other vendors.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes that generates interest. People coming because
Right.
they'll ask, "What are you here for? Who are you with?"
Yeah,
Right.
I always like to do that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, so I've got Judah. 2 to 3?
3 to 4.
Not 2 to 3?
Well, if you'd rather, I can do 2 to 3. I can do one of those.
Okay, 3 to 4 is fine.
Okay.
I'll get Vanessa to do 2 to 3.
Yep.
Okay.
Good.
Okay. I will send everybody one that is made out.
Okay.
Yeah, I think in the future it might be helpful to do like a Google sheet or something too. I feel like that was hard for me also because I wanted to see like what spots were already taken and stuff like that.
Yep.
But yeah.
Do you know how to do Google Drive? Good.
Do you want me to do it for this event?
You don't have to do it for this event, but
Okay, going forward I can definitely.
yes, because there are a lot of things I'd like to have up on a Google Drive, and we don't have it. We've been asking for somebody.
Oh, it's very user friendly. I'm sure you could do it.
I'm sure I could.
But I'd be happy to do it.
And I will learn. I'd like to
Yeah,
work
happy
with you.
to teach also.
Good. So we've got all these things pretty much, and Vanessa will be able to choose whatever she wants.
Maybe Linda too, if she's up to it.
Yeah, maybe, we'll see. Let's talk a little bit, though, about what we're going to do when we sit there, because that's going to be key. And Vanessa had done a little bit of, I don't know, a little bit of sort of getting our thoughts together last time we tabled, and her conclusion was we need to actually connect with the people. We need to make this count. We're spending time. It's an investment. We need to make it pay off somehow. So one of the things I thought we should talk about is what are our goals for the event, and then how to achieve the goals.
Bless you.
Does that make sense? So what do you think we need to? What would you like to accomplish to make this sound like it's worth it?
I do remember last time I gave the feedback that it was pretty hard to connect with folks because there was 3 commissions at one table. I know that we're not changing that. I'm sure it's like a money thing.
It is a money thing.
And also, I mean, we are only so many people and like whatever.
Right.
Like when I was sitting there last year, because I went to Juneteenth last year, I feel like ICPOC and Zach talked to like way more people than like I did while I was there, because it seemed like they would talk to them and then they'd leave. Like it was like it's kind of hard for them to like sit and yeah. So I don't know how to. Maybe we just have to be more aggressive. Be like talk to me instead of them. But you know, it's yeah.
Obviously sight unseen for me, but so it sounds like we don't have something like this or like a trifold that explains.
We have.
or-
Oh no, we've got lots of stuff.
Okay.
We've got lots of stuff. It's none of it's terrific, but it's all doable. That describes us. But we're going to be sitting there with maybe 2, 3, 10 like this. One says, HRC. One says disabilities, and one says ICPOC. But so, and what Hannah is saying is, whoever people stop, that they may not come to Human Rights Commission. They may just stay where they start.
It's just one table with like
Right.
5 people sitting at
Right.
it. So it's like basically who's ever at the first or whoever is most outgoing. Zach is very outgoing.
Yeah.
So he's like ready to talk to like any person that comes to the table. ICPOC also I think is very interesting to the public. I think it's like an issue that a lot of Ann Arborites are really invested in. So I feel like they'll talk to them. And maybe I'm just not as outgoing or like extroverted as, but that was like, so you're basically just sitting at a table that's about this size, and then yeah.
Yes.
Is there any kind of like sign up or sign in sheet or
Yes.
name capture?
That is one of the things we will have as a sheet for them to sign in, because we want to have it. We've got a mailing list,
Right.
and we want to increase our mailing list to know who came.
So what I found valuable is what Pam was referring. I like to go to the other tables. Those are people who are also engaged with their communities, and just informing them about what we do is a way of reaching a broader audience. Plus, you got a captive audience; they're stuck at their table, and so you can talk to them.
So you go to other tables and talk.
Yeah, nearby.
That's I typically have the best conversations because you don't have a lot of traffic.
Right.
We're not the most exciting booth at the fair. We don't have colorful
It's hard to believe.
goods and stuff. And you're not gonna grab anyone by the lapel and make
Right.
them hear about human rights.
Right.
So, I don't know.
My first thought was to have like a 2-question questionnaire that asks something like, what do you care most about? How do you feel about human rights on a scale of 1 to 5? What do you think is the biggest issue? And something else. But I thought that might get them started.
If they come.
Huh?
If they come.
If they come.
I was thinking, I don't know if we want to be this proactive or bold, but next to our sign, something that says discriminated against with question mark. Because it's a hot button topic, like, buzzword that, and so then we can like reel them in.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea.
And I think that's a really good, I think that's compelling and that would engage people, what you said, Leslie, but I think not knowing the scope of what we do,
Yeah.
they'd probably refer to global or national events that we care about, though, but we
But we can't
can't
do anything
act
about.
upon, whereas
Yeah.
that's exactly what
Mm-hmm.
what's in our scope.
I mean, we could use what Leslie said as instead of a piece of paper, it could be like an opening line, like just a verbal conversation that could warp. And then, I mean, we could take notes if we were interested in what people said, but people might be more inclined to have like a quick 30-minute or instead of like sitting and taking like a survey about their opinion on human rights.
Yeah.
If people didn't know what to say when they were tabling.
Right.
I think that could really, that's a conversation starter, though. I think
Mhm.
people could say,
Just-
yeah, actually,
Yeah, I have.
I was working for this person, and they,
Mhm.
because of who I am,
Mhm.
I was treated poorly.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Mhm.
So just having something that says discriminated against,
Mhm.
and then Human Rights Commission.
Mhm. Yeah,
Okay.
just,
Yeah, with the
it's,
question mark.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. And that's what I think. I know that that's somewhere listed on the advertisement that we have on CTN.
Mhm.
Have you been discriminated against? So
Oh.
it follows that, and we
Oh,
can
good.
refer. Some of them have said, "I've seen the advertisement on CTN," so we can piggyback on that and say, "Yes, we are that
Okay.
agency." And
There's a precedent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe you could do something like, I don't know, at the top of the hour or something, just like, just leave the table and just like circulate through the crowd, or if there's two people, maybe one person can be kind of more circulating.
Yep.
Well, we do that.
Yeah.
handing out
Good.
cards. It seemed like you guys did that, so, yeah, but, and you have those business cards too, of
Yeah.
course, so those
Yes.
are, you just say, don't
And
leave
I
with any
have business cards.
cards.
One of the things that did occur to me is that, if you start a good conversation and and that's a way to connect, right? You might give them a business
Yeah,
card with your
to
name and
close it.
information on it, and here's, if you need
Well,
more.
especially if they're
Great.
a nonprofit or an organization
Yes.
who are interested in that space. Like you were saying, Leslie, about the Fair Housing Center, what do you do in the space? You make referrals. And so if they know who we are and they say, oh yeah, I'm working with this person and they were discriminated against in Ann Arbor based on housing, I should contact the Ann Arbor Human Rights Commission.
You can't afford personalized cards.
I got that yesterday. So now- right, I'm set for life.
Well, we cover a lot, but we also cover three broad areas. Oh, yes, please.
Yeah.
Employment, public accommodations, and housing.
Yes, we
So
do.
those are the three broad
Right,
areas.
it's true.
right.
And then there's the sub
Whereas
areas.
if we network with, like Judith's describing, other orgs could say, yeah, they do that. I remember having that conversation. Here's a warm handoff. to them."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this
Whereas
is-
people who are there for a good time, like you said, might be like,
Yeah.
rather I didn't want to
Right.
call them cozy or something.
But I can imagine you're starting a conversation and you can say, give me a call, and then you've got a connection.
I think
Next
we need
year-
those something to drop, and I think, like I said, it's a bit provocative and a buzzword, but it's gonna, if they don't come over, it's still gonna make them think, right? And then some
Yeah.
do. They were, well, what's that about?
Well, what do we want to know most? I mean, from the people who come.
I think we want to engage. I don't know that we want to know anything. We want
Just
them to know
engage.
about us and have a
Okay.
conversation and hear what they have to say.
Let them know what we do. It's amazing how many people I think do not know that there's some group like us.
Education, right?
We need better swag, Like exciting cozies.
The budget of zero, though.
Budget of zero, but we get
So
creative.
we can put that in the to-do things for,
Swag is huge for outreach. I mean,
Yeah.
like-
the two things that I think are hot button issues
Yeah.
are voting rights, because they decimated the Voting Rights Act,
Yes.
and ICE, because they are targeting those who are either undocumented or those that they think shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
The good thing in our meeting that was we had with the police chief and Commander Dunlap is the Ann Arbor Police Department has insignia on their uniforms that now distinguishes them from ICE. And it says Ann Arbor Police Department, which is wonderful.
Critical, yes.
The other piece of that is Supportive Connections that has the business cards.
Leslie has them. I gave them some to pass out at the event.
Yeah, and I have a bunch of them that I actually
that's
got
right.
from them by going upstairs to their office.
Is there a way we can identify those so that, because those are interesting cards.
Yeah.
What do they say?
If you're unfamiliar with, and I think
Oh, wait.
Jonathan is supposed to come visit us anyway and talk about it.
Oh, good.
But he
Yes.
also is, wasn't Supportive Connections identified as the entity that's going to spearhead the unarmed response?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yes.
But those are two things that I know ICE is targeting, or at least the undocumented
Right.
and
If we put those cards on the table, we're going to be talking a lot about ICE.
right, but it's also
But
those types of events are where ICE tends to want to be, to identify individuals who may be there that they can then, accost in some way.
ooh,
So it's kind of a catch-22. We want people who may be there to know this information, but then ICE may also want to know that they're there so that they can arrest them.
that's true. Okay. But you're still saying we should put the cards on the table?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I think it might be ideal to share that with the other vendors, those cards.
Oh, that's
Are these those
interesting.
Know Your Rights cards?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, because I think, like our agency, unfortunately, sometimes is the best kept secret. People just don't know. And so we want to be an excellent
Excuse me.
conduit where we're communicating that
Mhm.
and ensuring that the general public knows. And that's a big deal. It's a once a year kind of thing. Of course, they had the annual African American Festival just last weekend.
Right.
So,
But that was more music and clothes and...
yeah. And they'll have a national one in Detroit in July, where vendors come from all over.
Oh,
It's wonderful.
It's going to be cool.
It's absolutely wonderful, but yeah.
Okay. Is there anything we want to accomplish then? How are we going to know? Getting
How
people's
about we
names
track
and
just the number of people who come by with just like
Little tally.
yeah, just a little tag, like,
okay.
10 people. Every time somebody comes by, we just, document it.
You have all those little clickers.
I don't have one.
I got one.
Do you?
Oh,
They're
okay.
there at the setup.
Yeah, but you're only going to be there for a short time,
Just
so
leave it at the
we need to
table.
have a central thing where everybody can document, like how many people came by. So is yours portable and you'll leave it?
It's a
I could
little,
leave it, I could give it to
the next person.
Leslie?
whoever is good at first, and then I'll
It's one of the
collect.
little handheld clickers.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Not
exactly.
pretend
Yep.
that's-
Mhm.
Yep.
At the end, just everybody who's at the table. point.
Right, and we
Okay.
can say how many people physically, so tracking that information,
Yep.
how many people came by the
Who we
table.
engaged with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
And then we can compare it to next
Yeah.
year.
Right, right.
Please try to get people to sign in, on the mailing list. That would be helpful
Well, some
too.
don't, and
I
I
know
found,
some don't.
you
Some
know,
don't want
because-
to. And I'm not going to put newsletter because I think that's a word that scares
Yeah.
people.
Do we utilize that list?
We have, yes. What we do is we send out announcements when there's a major human rights issue that we know, that we can help them with.
If we had anything cool, we could do a fishbowl giveaway raffle or
I
something.
know,
that would-
we've
but-
talked about that. So far, candy is the best we've got.
Yeah.
That's nice.
But you're right, a fishbowl would be nice, or a
They
raffle.
put their business card in, and we have more name capture.
Ooh, business card, though, that would be,
It's easier than people signing up.
It
They'll
is.
just drop it in and be like, oh, I could win a.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the sign-in sheet looks like, but I found that I think that we should ask for like the least amount of information as possible.
It just asks for name and email.
Okay, good.
And people hate that. Even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been many places where they ask for like your address, and I'm like, what? Like,
Yeah.
Well, how about, in order to send them something,
We
I've
do
got to
that.
have something. It
Yeah,
could be an
yeah.
email address, huh?
No, it does. It has the name and email on there.
Just the
Yeah, okay. Okay. Well, anything else we need for Juneteenth?
Just show up. Leslie and I bought the T-shirts that are sold by the NAACP along
Right.
with the bag. So, my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they're going to sell. Oh, you weren't at that meeting. They're going to sell them again.
Of course.
And they're
They have
not.
dates on them, don't they?
No, they don't. And
Oh.
that was deliberate, so you can wear it every year.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Thought mine had a date on it. maybe. Okay. Oh,
Just
good.
says Juneteenth.
Oh, good. Have to find
But
it.
not the year or anything. And then it has the kind of like the definition on the back of the shirt. So, yeah. If you don't have one, it's worth it. Get it.
Maybe a Human Rights Commission one next year. I don't think so. Okay. Anything else about Juneteenth or anything other? Commissioner communications? Things you want us to know that, for any reason, might be interested in? Nothing?
I can play with a flyer if there's a desire. Like a one-pager, you said there's a need for something like this. I'm happy to take a swing at it. Might take me a while to get to it, but
We're not talking about for Juneteenth. We're
no,
talking-
sorry.
Okay.
But if you said
Okay,
anything else
but
that I
for
might-
flyer,
Yeah,
yes.
No, I wouldn't get it done by June.
No, okay. But I'll take you up on that, because
Okay.
I'd like to see something
Okay,
more
I'll
interesting.
take that for action.
Does anybody have, Make a motion?
I move we adjourn.
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, everybody.